Hello friends! And for my preschoolers, do you remember what you say when I say hi to you? You say, "Hi Miss M." Today we are going to talk about how to plant your very own garden. Now, you could do this activity with real things. You could do it outside and really make your own garden, or you could pretend. It's totally up to you. So moms and dads, however you want to take this activity and run with it is great. I definitely recommend setting up a pretend garden if you want to have some pretend play to practice this first. So I'm going to talk about the things that we need to set this up, whether it's pretend or in real life, whether it's inside or outside. So we'll start there. Then the second thing I'm going to do in this video is do an actual kind of interactive activity for my preschoolers to take part in and engage with. So we're going to talk about how to set it up. I've also made a PDF for you to look over in case you want to kind of have a list of things to have and a way to sequence it out to read. I'm a very visual person, so I always love having something, whether it's on my iPad or printed out, to be able to kind of check off, right, like a to-do list. Okay, let's get started. So for this activity, what do we need? We need a pot of some sort. Right? And I have these little ones too. These are what I use for my pretend play activity for this in the speech room. So I have a few of these, and let's say I have a group of 2 students, or you have 2 kiddos at home that you want to do this with. They each can have one. You can decorate it with their names, whatever. These are super cheap. I find them in the dollar section. If you're not looking to go out and shop for these, cups do just fine. Paper cups. You poke little holes in the bottom so the water can go through, and you put a paper plate underneath. It works just fine. The next thing you need, and here's where I got real crafty and used my recycling, some soil. So I have just a little bit of soil in here. We might also call it dirt. That's fine. But you'll definitely want that. Now, again, if this is a pretend play activity, highly recommend putting the lid on this thing. And if you want real soil in there to make it look as real as possible, great. If you don't and you want to call it soil and maybe label it or have a picture of dirt on there, that works. But just to make the pretend play a little bit more relatable, understandable, and all that stuff, and to really work on that vocabulary. Speaking of vocabulary, I'm going to be going over this activity with a few different vocabulary terms. Some of my students I know are working on very functional vocabulary, things like put in, take out, put on, right? Maybe if we're working on using a shovel, we might just say dig instead of, you know, dig the dirt or dig the hole. Dig the dirt. You dig it? All right. Speaking of tools, a shovel, especially if you're gonna do a pretend play activity in the living room or something and pretend to make a garden and maybe use colored pictures of flowers or something that you grew. Definitely having things to use, tangible things that are the real deal. I found these in my favorite store, Target, in the dollar section, my second favorite store, because I consider that a store of its own since I spend about 2 hours a day there, 2 hours a Target run there, I should say. But you can talk, again, you have that functional, even just take out, but dig is a great one because that's an activity that I think a lot of students can get into. Another thing you can do with these, if you got 2 shovels, remember how I talk about imitation on these videos? That's great for imitation. And then a rake, because you can talk about maybe making space for seeds, especially if you're planting an outside garden, whether you're doing it in real life or for a play activity, you're making space for new flowers or new plants. And side note, the reason I decided this was a fun activity for this week is because Earth Day is this week, and it's great to talk about growing. I'm going to talk about growing my own vegetables because that's what I'm going to be doing for this activity. And making space for new growth, right? Just a thought. All right, another thing you might want is a watering can. Again, shout out Target for me. And this is great because it's honestly a very fun, sometimes very fun sensory activity. It gets weighed down as you put water in it. When you watch the water comes out, it's very visually it can be very visually stimulating. It's fun to watch that water kind of trickle out of the spout. And you can talk about put in. You can talk about water the plants, or even, I mean, I know it's not quite the same, but you can say pour water. Oops, right? So things like that. Okay, so we have our watering can. And then of course, the very last thing you're gonna want, whether it's pretend or in real life, are some seeds. If you have dried beans in your kitchen cabinets, those are great for pretend seeds, by the way. I love using those. That's what we'll use when we do it with this activity. As far as fake dirt goes, I might use some cotton because hey, why not? And then I know it's kind of wasteful, but if we water the cotton just a little bit just to see that effect, it's easy to kind of grab and, you know, toss if we have to. Side note. Also, for the seeds, oh, I told you, a bean. Okay, we're good, dried bean. The seeds I'm planting today, like I said, I'm gonna start a vegetable garden, are organic basil seeds. Now, you wanna know how resourceful I am? And I really have to give a lot of credit to my mom on this one. I am using the Grow Your Own Vegetable Garden kit that my mom got me for Christmas. So thank goodness I found that in my garage, because otherwise I would definitely be doing a lot of pretend play activities for you right now. But I'm very fortunate that I had this at my disposal. So we're gonna do this and we can watch it every week, and I can show you guys the progress on our basil plant, all right? So you're a part of this now. Okay, so those are the things you'll need. Now we're gonna talk about how to set this up with a sequence. And I just messed this up. It was balanced so nicely, there we go. So, oh, I forgot one more thing because they're sitting on my feet. You're gonna want gloves. Again, put on, take off. You talk about the safety of your hands, keeping your hands clean. When you're outside gardening, your hands might touch a pokey, right? Or a stick or something that'll scratch or poke you. So these keep your hands safe. And again, put on is great language for that. Okay, so let's set this up. So I'm gonna walk you through the sequence so my preschoolers can watch this, because you're gonna wanna pay attention. And then when we do this activity, when I really plant my basil, you're gonna tell me what to do, okay? So let's talk about our sequence. Our key words are gonna be first, then, and last. So there's a first step. First, we need to put on our gloves. First, we put on our gloves. All right. And then next, we need to, now, if you're outside or you're playing this next, you might make some space, right? You might rake. There's another good vocabulary word, rake. And then you might dig. Okay. And after that, you might plant your seed and put in. For this activity, I'm going to, then I add soil, oops, to my pot, put in soil, okay? So first gloves, then put in soil. Next, I need to plant my seed, okay? So I'm gonna put my seeds into my pot, put in, or pour in, or however it's situated, right? So if you have your bean, put in is great. And that one's also great because then if you're just doing the bean, maybe that's all this activity is right now, is just putting in and dumping out, which I've talked about, which is great because you could get a lot of engagement out of your child just by maybe putting a bean in a can, holding it up to your eyes, shaking, 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 and then dumping out, and doing that sequence over and over and over and over again until you're so tired of it, but your child laughs every time you dump those beans out that you realize it doesn't matter how many repetitions you do, it's gonna be fun, right? Repetition, repetition, repetition. And again, that's all this activity might be, and that's great. That's so fun because we can hear, we get that sensory of all those beans in there. We get that visual of dumping them out. We laugh, we have joy about it. It's awesome. But after I put my seeds, then I might put a little more soil. So we'll say then soil, right? Then put in. And then I'm gonna water. But what if my watering can isn't full yet? Okay, so I need to put water in, put in, then we can water our plant. So you could say come out or water out, or however you want to do it, okay? So let me put a little bit of water in this just to get us started, because there's a growing medium in there that's supposed to, all right, we're gonna see how this works, guys. I'm not really sure. I'm really not sure. Let's rake a little bit. We're gonna make some space. Okay. All right, are you ready? Take these off because my preschoolers can watch now and tell me what I need to do. First, I need to put on my gloves. Thank you. Put on. Okay, am I ready? No? What do I need? Oh, okay. I need my other glove. Thank you. You're keeping my hands so safe. Even though I'm not outside and there's no pokies, I'm still staying clean. All right, let's fix this one. Oops. All right, am I ready? You can tell me yes or no. Am I ready? Yes, I'm ready. Okay, what do I do next? If you said put in soil, you weren't wrong. All right, I'm gonna put in soil. If I'm outside, what might I do instead? I might make some space. So I'm gonna make some space in here actually, because this needs a little bit of work before I put seeds in. Let's see. You might need more water, friends. So we'll wait. We'll put our water in a minute. Or actually, I'm gonna dump a little bit in there right now, guys, just to make our dirt a little bit more workable. Sometimes you need to add some water to make it possible, right? Okay. All right. Next, I need my seeds. That's right. Okay, so I'm gonna put in my seeds. There they go. All right, all ready for some more. Now I could do two things. I could put soil in there, or I could put some water. I think I'm gonna put a little bit more soil just for now, just to cover them up. You just wanna cover them up, and this is where you could take your shovel and pat, pat, pat it down. Remember our word, pat, pat, pat. And then water, and we can even say, and last, water. And last, water. All right. There we go. So right now this just looks like a pot of mud, but next week I'll see if there's any sprouts and show you. The next thing I'm going to do with my vegetable garden, I'll just tell you, I'm going to put it in my kitchen window, because that's probably where the best sun for plant growing goes. So I'm going to put it in my kitchen window, and I'll keep an eye on it and water it every day, and I think we're going to have some basil. So my pasta is going to be real yummy from now on. All right, friends, so that is our garden activity. Remember, moms and dads, repetition is always key. So if you want to play this game as a pretend play kind of thing first, and do it for a couple days in your living room with pretend soil and pretend seeds, and then you want to take it outside and maybe really grow a garden for yourself, I definitely recommend it. That repetition is key in helping your child understand that sequence, to then put it into action outside when you're really going to see those flowers grow or your vegetables grow is always a good idea, because they'll have a better understanding of it and it'll be more concrete. I also have a list of books that I'm attaching to this video and to a PDF on my site for you to kind of see the different books we read in speech taught when we're talking about gardening, because what I like to do is read a book, or you can find these books even read aloud on YouTube. I would love to read aloud these books for you, but I don't have them right now. And then I would do the activity, so they kind of have an idea of what we're doing in that book context, and it's a familiar context between you and your child to talk about, and then you can actually do it. So those are just some of my tips. Still got my gloves on, and I am going to say bye-bye for now.